Let's pray. Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the office of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor as your servants whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of important trust in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to enforce the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our church. Amen.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, I have a number of communications to make. I'll start with the simpler one. Honourable members, this communication is a guide on the consideration of the 3 Senate bills. As you may recall, honourable members, on November 27, 2018, I conveyed to the House a message from the Senate regarding the Food Security Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2017, the County Statistics Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2018, and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2018. Just as a reminder, the Food Security Bill seeks to give effect to Articles 21, 43(1)(c), 143(1)(c), and 53(1)(c) of the Constitution on the freedom from hunger, the right to adequate food of acceptable quality, and the right of every child to basic nutrition, and to provide a framework and mechanism for the national and county governments to fulfill their obligations in relation to food security. Further, honourable members, the County Statistics Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2018, seeks to provide a framework for the collection, compilation, analysis and dissemination of statistical information, and to establish a county statistics office, while the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2018, is seeking to amend the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Act to provide for the notification of the expiry of the term for commissioners and to provide for the timelines for filling the vacancies in the commission upon expiry of their terms. Honourable members, following the first reading of the three bills on November 28, 2018, I did forward the bills to the technical offices pursuant to Standing Order number 143, subsection 2, which provides that, and I quote, following first reading, the Speaker shall within reasonable time pronounce his or her opinion contemplated under Article 114, Clause 2 of the Constitution, close the quotes. Now, therefore, having received a brief on the matter from the relevant offices of Parliament, I made the following determination on the three Senate bills. 1, the County Statistics Bill, Senate Bill number 9 of 2018, and the Salaries and Remuneration Commission Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2018, do not fall within the meaning of money bills. As such, they may proceed for second reading in the same manner as a bill originating in the National Assembly, as provided for under Standing Order number 143, subsection 3. These bills, therefore, stand referred to the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning for consideration. 2, the Food Security Bill, Senate Bill number 12 of 2017, is a money bill within the meaning of Article 114 of the Constitution. It therefore stands referred to the Budget and Appropriations Committee for consideration and advice on the manner in which the House ought to proceed with the bill, pursuant to the provisions of Article 109, Clause 5 and 114 of the Constitution, as run together with Standing Order number 143. Honourable members, the House is thus accordingly guided. Members making your way. Please make your way in. I thought you had already signed in. You are just standing. Honourable members, I am just about to, if you desire to continue standing, then you can. You find it difficult to sit even for 10 minutes. Honourable members, the second state communication regards responsibility for statement of fact. Honourable members, on Wednesday, November 21st, 2018, the Vice Chairperson of the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security, Honourable Waluke, raised a concern regarding the non-attendance of committee meetings by the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government. Honourable members, in his remarks, the Vice Chairperson alleged that as a result of this lapse, there were over 60 questions still awaiting replies from the ministry. Honourable members, from the records, it has been confirmed that this particular Cabinet Secretary has appeared before the said committee to answer questions from members on 3 separate occasions. In fact, the committee has had 38 questions referred to it, of which 17 have been responded to, 11 rescheduled for reply, and 10 awaiting scheduling with the ministry. For further clarification, the Cabinet Secretary for the Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government has not honored only 4 invitations for committee meetings, and each time he has requested in writing for rescheduling of the meetings to a later date. From the foregoing, therefore, it becomes apparent that the information stated in the House by the Vice Chairperson of the Committee on Administration and National Security was inaccurate and may have painted the Cabinet Secretary in a bad light. Honourable members, it is therefore incumbent upon you, when raising such matters in the House, to ensure the accuracy of your remarks, especially in light of provisions of Standing Order number 91 regarding responsibility for the accuracy of any facts made in the House. It is indeed one of the circumstances covered by the provisions of Standing Orders 107 on disorderly conduct, to pander around untruths. Therefore, thank you, honourable members, and I hope the member, the Vice Chair of the committee, will then find it necessary to make the correction, because we have the facts on the record, and the fact of that inaccuracy should prick his conscience. Honourable members, come making your way, please come quickly. Honourable members, this third communication relates to mandates of the Budget and Appropriations Committee and the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. Honourable members, you may recall that on Tuesday, 4th December 2018, the member for Kitui Central Constituency, the Honourable Dr. Makali Mulu, rose on a point of order seeking my guidance on the mandate of the Budget and Appropriations Committee and that of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning, with particular reference to coordination and processing of key aspects of the budget. In his submission, the Honourable Makali did refer to various articles of the Constitution, the Public Finance Management Act of number 18 of 2012, and in particular, Section 39 of the said Act, and the National Assembly Standing Orders 207 and 216. The Honourable Makali postulated that the guidance given to the House by the Budget and Appropriations Committee in scrutinizing and approving the government's fiscal framework includes the purview of projected revenue and revenue-raising measures such as taxation, loans and grants, and that are introduced through the finance bill. Consequently, he observed that any additional revenue-raising measures or tax incentives introduced after the passage of the appropriations bill should be deemed as having a distorting effect on the fiscal framework already approved by the House through the Budget and Appropriations Committee. I'll give the members a chance to make their way in. You can see it even there. That place is not harmful. It's not the honor members who only find the very back as the most suitable area to sit. Honor members, I resume. It is in this regard that the honor members, and on account of these concerns, that the member for Kitui Central sought guidance and clarification on the following three broad areas. One, what aspects of taxation and revenue are shared between the Budget and Appropriations Committee and the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning? How can those shared aspects be processed in an efficient, effective, and amicable manner to ensure that the fiscal framework represents the true facts? Two, which of these two committees is charged with the responsibility of assessing the implications of members' proposed amendments to the finance bill? Three, is there a distinction between tax policy and tax revenue-raising measures in the finance bill? If so, which committee is charged with the responsibility of addressing them? Honour members, I did undertake to issue a communication to guide the member and indeed the House on the matters raised by the Honourable Makali Mulu, which I hereby do. Honour members, please make your way quickly into the chamber. Honour members, this is not the first time that this August House is having to address matters of mandate of committees. Those among you who served in the 11th Parliament may recall that in December 2013, several members sought guidance on the apparent conflict of mandates between the Public Accounts Committee and the Public Investments Committee on one hand, and the departmental committees on the other. Additionally, it is not the first time either that the mandate of the Budget and Appropriations Committee has come into focus in this House. You may, in this regard, recall that in May 2015, the then member for GEM, the Honourable Jacobo Midiwo, rose on a point of order and raised several issues regarding the place of the recommendations of departmental committees regarding budget estimates for line ministries and departments in the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee. The ruling made by the chair in both instances helped in addressing the issues raised at the time. Honourable members, as you are aware, this House relies primarily on the existing legal framework and established practice in addressing issues of this nature in a bid to ensure that the eventual solution is practical and sustainable. I therefore wish to commence my communication today by highlighting the mandate and responsibilities of the two committees regarding which the Honourable Dr. Makali Mulu sought guidance. To begin with, the mandate of the Budget and Appropriations Committee is provided for in Standing Order number 207, and it entails the following. One, to investigate, inquire into, and report on all matters related to coordination, control, and monitoring of the national budget. Two, to discuss and review the estimates and make recommendations to the House. Three, to examine the budget policy statement presented to the House. Four, to examine bills related to the national budget, including appropriation bills. And five, to evaluate tax estimates, economic and budgetary policies, and programs with direct budget outlays. Based on these areas of mandate, the Budget and Appropriations Committee has been identified by the House as, and I quote, relevant committee of the Assembly, close the quotes, referred to in Article 114 of the Constitution. Third, the Budget and Appropriations Committee is further mandated by the Constitution, one, and Article 114, Clause 2, to guide the speakers in determining the action to be taken on a motion that makes provision for a matter recent in the definition of a money bill, and 2, and Article 221, Clause 4, to discuss and review estimates of revenue and expenditure of the national government and make its recommendations to the National Assembly. These recommendations, upon approval by the House, become the basis of the appropriations bill. This role is also provided for in Section 39, subsection 2 of the Public Finance Management Act 2012. Further, Clause 6 of the same Article 221 provides, and I quote, when the estimates of the national government expenditure and the estimates of the expenditure for the judiciary and parliament have been approved by the National Assembly, they shall be included in an appropriation bill, which shall be introduced into the National Assembly to authorize the withdrawal from the consolidated fund of the money needed for the expenditure and for the appropriation of that money for the purposes mentioned in the bill, close the quotes. Again, one of members, I resume my seat to allow members to make their way in. Please do so quickly. Those making your way in, please do so quickly. You can register your presence or absence later. Yeah, there's a member who has registered under absence. Honourable members, on the other hand, the mandate of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning, as provided for by the National Assembly Standing Order number 216, and to single out subjects related to matters raised by the Honorable Makali Mulu, include but not limited to investigating, inquiring into, and reporting on all matters relating to the mandate, management, activities, administration, operations, and estimates of the assigned ministries and departments, studying the program and the policy objectives of ministries and departments, and the effectiveness of the implementation, and making reports and recommendations to the House as often as possible, including recommendation of proposed legislation. Consequently, the second schedule to the same standing orders further provides on the mandate encompassing the following: public finance and monetary policies, public debt, financial institutions, excluding those in securities exchange, investment and divestiture policies, pricing policies, banking, insurance, population, revenue policies including taxation, and national planning and development. Further, Standing Order number 245 mandates the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning to introduce to the National Assembly the Finance Bill in the form submitted as a legislative proposal by the Cabinet Secretary, together with a report of the committee on the bill. Honourable members, having highlighted the mandates of the two committees, I now wish to observe as follows. First, you will recall that the Sessional Committee on Fiscal Analysis and Appropriation was established by a resolution of this House in 2005, which was by itself a historic resolve that eventually led to the establishment of the Budget Committee through the Fiscal Management Act of 2009, and finally, the re-establishment of the Budget and Appropriations Committee by the Public Finance Management Act of 2012. It is thus observed that the Budget and Appropriations Committee is the only committee having additional functions through legislation. The Budget and Appropriations Committee has a wider mandate when it comes to budget matters as follows. A, providing general direction on budget matters. The Budget and Appropriations Committee, as provided for in the PFM Act of 2012, as well as the standing orders of the National Assembly, is required to provide recommendation on the overall macroeconomic framework expected to guide the annual budget as well as in the medium term. The committee is expected to do this through a review of the budget policy statement, the BPS, and the medium-term debt strategy papers, which are laid in the House annually. In doing so, the committee enables the Assembly to set ceilings on the overall fiscal framework, as well as ceilings on expenditure. Departmental committees, on their part, review the BPS pertaining to their respective line ministries and departments and submit their recommendations to the Budget and Appropriations Committee for review and consolidation. B, providing direction on the vertical and horizontal distribution of nationally raised resources. The PFM Act of 2012 and the National Assembly Standing Orders mandate the Budget and Appropriations Committee to review the Division of Revenue Bill as well as the County Allocation of Revenue Bill and propose to the House the level of resources to allocate horizontally, and that is at the national level, and vertically, that is between the two levels of government. The intent and spirit of designating this role to the Budget and Appropriations Committee is premised on the fact that as the committee gives recommendations on the overall direction of the budget, it also resolves and guides on the overall resource envelope that is to be raised both domestically as well as externally. C, examining bills related to the national budget, including the appropriations bills. The function to examine bills related to the national budget, including the appropriations bills, is provided for by the National Assembly Standing Order number 207, subsection 3, paragraph D. The Budget and Appropriations Committee has always reviewed appropriations bills. However, other budget-related bills are reviewed and scrutinized by the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. This includes the finance bill that is introduced in the National Assembly every year. D, evaluating tax estimates, economic and budgetary policies and programs with direct budgetary outlays. The Budget and Appropriations Committee is expected to review the overall resource envelope that is expected to identify total revenues as per each category of sources. Hence, upon the submission of the BPS by the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury, the Budget and Appropriations Committee reviews the macro framework, especially the financing proposals and policies that are expected to underpin the realization of all the resources. The committee is also expected to review the estimates of revenue that are submitted within the overall estimates and propose any necessary amendments. It is important to note this is not a review of the individual measures, but a review of the estimates, that is the total absolute amounts. This is the major departure between what the role of the Budget and Appropriations Committee regarding revenues and that of the Finance and National Planning Committee. While the former looks at the absolute overall amounts, the latter looks at each and every measure that is proposals to tax and not to tax. E, examining estimates of expenditure and carry out monitoring of overall expenditure. The review of estimates of expenditure is a function that the Budget and Appropriations Committee performs annually. The review is done in consultation with other departmental committees and culminates in the recommendation to the House by way of a report. The committee also reviews the in-year reports on budgets and, if necessary, submits recommendations, which in turn forms the basis of supplementary estimates. Members standing at the door, please make your way in quickly. Under the migratory members, we proceed. On its part, as earlier alluded, the role and mandate of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning is outlined in the second schedule of the National Assembly Standing Orders. The Committee of Finance and National Planning performs several roles as listed earlier in this communication. The specific roles that seem to have issues related to the roles of the Budget and Appropriations Committee are as follows. 1, revenue policies including taxation. Specific bills related to the budget, such as the appropriations bills and supplementary appropriations bills, are by statute expected to be reviewed by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. 2, public finance, monetary policies, banking, insurance, and public debt. The National Assembly Standing Orders 232-6 mandates the Budget and Appropriations Committee with the task of consideration of the debt management strategy. This is a matter which has a bearing on the role of the Departmental Committee on Finance and Planning concerning public debt. Honourable members, in consideration of the foregoing, I wish to respond to the 3 issues of inquiry from the Honourable Dr. Makali Mulu as follows. 1, regarding the inquiry as to what aspects of taxation and revenues are shared between the Budget and Appropriations Committee and the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning, it is not advisable to attempt to segment taxation or revenue into different categories for purposes of legislation, since taxation and revenue matters are extensively broad and intricately linked. Consequently, the question as to which aspects of taxation and revenue are shared by the 2 committees can only be addressed by future comprehensive reviews of the standing orders following intensive consultations and research. In the meantime, however, the Budget and Appropriations Committee ought to confine itself to evaluating the overall estimates of revenue and expenditure, whereas the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning ought to focus on revenue-raising measures per portfolio. 2, regarding the inquiry on which of the 2 committees is charged with the responsibility of assessing the implications of members' proposed amendments to the Finance Bill, the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning is mandated under Standing Order 245-1 to introduce to the House the Finance Bill in the form in which the bill was submitted as a legislative proposal by the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury, together with the report of the committee on the bill, as a departmental committee would be expected to do. By practice, a committee to which a bill is charged, or which introduces a bill, and which additionally reports on the bill, is typically expected to be the same committee that handles any amendments to the same bill. Consequently, amendments to the Finance Bill are under the purview of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. However, this arrangement notwithstanding, Standing Order number 245, subsection 2, requires the Departmental Committee on Finance and Planning to ensure that its recommendations to the Finance Bill, and by interpretation, any proposed amendment by members on revenue matters in the Finance Bill or any other bill are in such a manner that the total amount of revenue raised is consistent with the approved fiscal framework. The Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning is therefore obligated to ensure that any amendments to the taxation proposals and revenue matters in the Finance Bill do not negatively impact the macroeconomic and fiscal framework. It might thus be necessary for the Finance Committee to ensure that any amendments to the Finance Bill is accompanied by a statement on the financial implications of the amendments before it can be considered by the House. 3, regarding the third and final inquiry on whether there is a distinction between tax policy and tax revenue raising measures in the Finance Bill, it is my considered view that the 2 issues are invariably and inextricably intertwined. They cannot be separated, whether for legislative or implementation purposes. Regarding the second part of this inquiry, namely which committee is charged with the responsibility of addressing tax policy and tax revenue raising measures, the Departmental Committee of Finance and National Planning retains this mandate based on the reasons highlighted herein. Honourable members, in conclusion, it may be argued that there are valid concerns when it comes to the specific differentiation of the mandates of the Budget and Appropriations Committee vis-a-vis that of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning. In particular, the key areas of apparent overlap involves the evaluation of budget-related bills and the analysis of public debt. Nevertheless, the minor areas of apparent overlap should not constitute a reason for inability, delay, or inefficiency of any of the two committees in carrying out their respective roles and responsibilities. Should the issues recur or worsen with time, as could happen, it might then become imperative for the this August House, to consider reviewing the standing orders to define and segregate in order to address all areas of concern regarding the mandates of these two committees, based on what obtains in other jurisdictions, and more particularly in the United States of America, the American Congress, and the German Bundestag. Such a review, however, should be undertaken only after comprehensive and extensive research and consultations among all key stakeholders. The member and indeed the House is accordingly guided. I thank you, no members. No members, there is one final communication, but this one will come later because it relates to what you're likely to be doing in the next 2 months. Let's proceed.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Honorable Duale, Leader of Majority.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, December 6, 2018, in the afternoon sitting. Number 1, the annual report on the performance of the Ministry of Interior and coordination of the national government for the financial year 2017-2018. Number 2, the protocol to amend the Convention on Offenses and certain other acts committed on board an aircraft, in bracket Montreal Protocol of 2014, from the Office of the Attorney General and Department of Justice. 3, the report of the Auditor General on financial statements of the off-grid solar access project for underserved counties from the State Department of Energy for the financial year for the 10 months period ending 30th June 2018. Number 4, the annual report and financial statements for the Kenya Tourism Board for the financial year that ended 30th June 2016. Number 5, the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements in respect of Kenya Power and Lighting Company Limited for the year that ended 30th June 2018 and the certificate therein. And finally, number 6, the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements in respect of the following institutions for the year that ended 30th June 2017 and certificate therein. Number 1 is Kenya Forest Research Institute, the Kenya Utalii College, and the Tourism Regulatory Authority. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Lands.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, December 6, 2018. Reports of the Departmental Committee on Lands on the consideration of public petitions by the Honorable George Theuri, MP, on behalf of the residents of Maulem Ward, regarding alleged irregular allocation of land, LR number 11379/3, and members of Mount Kenya Forest squatters and residents of Meru regarding excision of Mount Kenya Forest pursuant to legal notices number 68 and 75 and 107/1977, measuring 384 hectares for settlement of squatters. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member, Kenya delegation to the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians, in brackets CWP, East Africa Sub-Region, Sensitization Workshop, the Honorable Janet CTNA, member for Tarbo.
Thank you, Speaker.
The member who is, you are in breach of the standing order number 103.
Thank you, Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, December 6th, 2018. Report of Parliament of Kenya delegation to the Commonwealth Women Parliamentarians, East African Sub-Region Sensitization Workshop held at Golden Tulip Hotel, Kampala, Uganda, from 6/21st to 26th July 2018. Thank you.
Very well. Member, delegation to the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, the Honorable Dr. Makali Mulu, who is also the regional representative.
Yeah, thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House. Today, Thursday, December 6, 2018. Report of Parliament of Kenya delegation to the 49th Commonwealth Parliamentary Association CPA Africa Region Conference held in Gaborone, Botswana from 13th to 22nd August 2018. Thank you.
Member, very well, Honorable Makali Mulu, member delegation to the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, the Honorable Wangwe Emmanuel, member for Napaholo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, December 6th, 2018. Report of the 139th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union, IPU, and related meetings held in Geneva, Switzerland, from 14th to 18th October 2018. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Sports, Culture, and Tourism. Honorable Korei, are you there? Yes? Proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, December 6, 2018. Report of the Departmental Committee on Sports, Culture, and Tourism on the Conservation Caucus Summit 2018, held in Washington, D.C., USA, from 21st to 28th September 2018. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Chairperson, Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works, and Housing, to lay several papers. Honorable Kosing.
Take this one.
So I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, December 6, 2018. The reports of the Departmental Committee on Transport, Public Works, and Housing on the 56th National Association of State Contractors Licensing Agencies annual conference held in Nashville, Tennessee, USA, from 27th to 30th August 2018. 2, 13th Air Navigation Conference held in Montreal, Canada, from 9th to 15th October 2018. 3rd, International Building and Construction Conference and Exhibition held in Bologna, Italy, from 15th to 20th October 2018. Fourth, International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, regional seminar held in Johannesburg, South Africa, from 8 to 14 April 2018. And finally, Honorable Speaker, International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO regional facilitation seminar held in Dakar, Senegal, from 5th to 8th March 2018. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Thank you very much. Chair, Departmental Committee on Energy, Honorable Kosing.
It is Honorable Bukose.
Sorry. I don't know why.
Kosing is my neighbor in the other county. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Thursday, December 6, 2018, afternoon sitting. Reports to the Departmental Committee on Energy, 1, on power outages in Moyale constituency since January 2018 by the Honorable Kalicha Gufu Wario, MP, member for Moyale constituency. 2, compensation of flood victims by Kenya Electricity Generating Company, KenGen, in a petition by the Honorable Ali Wario Kuyo, MP, member for Garsen constituency, on behalf of residents of Garsen constituency. 3, massive power disconnection by Kenya Power in Shirakalu Village, West Pusoso Ward, Nafakolo constituency, by Mr. Vincent Mathuko Koti. Honorable Speaker, I also beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Thursday, December 6, 2018, afternoon sitting. Report of the Departmental Committee on Energy on the petition by Messrs. Pius Omolo and Akoi Fedel on behalf of oil marketers in the country regarding licensing of oil marketing companies by Energy Regulatory Commission. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
First question is by nominated member, the Honorable Wilson Sosion.
Next. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to ask question number 296 of 2018, directed to the Cabinet Secretary of Labor and Social Protection. 1, is the Cabinet Secretary aware that Safaricom Public Limited Company has been discouraging and preventing its employees from joining workers' unions of their choice, contrary to the provisions of Article 41 of the Constitution of Kenya? 2, is the Cabinet Secretary further aware that the said company has procedurally terminated employment of several of its workers who have fallen sick as a result of long working hours in a hazardous environment at call centers? And 3, what steps is the ministry taking to ensure that the company stops unjust treatment of employees and that it does not prevent them from joining workers' unions? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, of course, I'm sure the House knows that the Honorable Sosion is a key trade unionist in this country. Key recognized trade unionists in the country, leading a very vibrant union. So I hear the member for Endebe suggesting that that perhaps he's looking for clients from Safaricom. That's what the member for Endebe is suggesting. But Honorable Sosion, I'm sure that's not what you are doing. The question is referring to the Departmental Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. But as you know, what is likely to happen later in the day, this is something for record. Next question is by nominated member, is it Godfrey Osotsi?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to ask question number 186 of 2018, directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Coordination of National Government. And it reads, A, is the Cabinet Secretary aware that on 23rd June 2018, Mrs. Anne Omoche, a nurse at Emuhaya Sub-County Hospital, was unlawfully arrested, assaulted, and detained at Luanda Police Station? B, what mechanism has the ministry put in place to ensure safety of health personnel on night duty and patients in health facilities at night? 3, are there plans by the ministry to compensate Mrs. Anne Omoche for unlawful arrest and injuries suffered? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Referring to the Committee on Administration and National Security. Next, member for Mathare constituency, Honorable Anthony Roach.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 213, Cabinet Secretary of Lands and Physical Planning. The first question is, what step is the ministry taking to safeguard land for public schools in Mathare constituency? Safeguard, public lands for schools in Mathare constituency from irregular allocation to private developers. And the second part of it, what plans has the ministry, in conjunction with the Land Commission, put in place to ensure that all public schools in the country, and in particular Mathare constituency, are issued with title deeds? I thank you.
Very well. Referring to the Committee on Lands. Next, question by the member for Suna West, Honorable Masara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 246 of 2018, directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Petroleum and Mining. A, is the Cabinet Secretary aware that in the late 2017, 8 artisanal miners from Suna West constituency lost their life as a result of collapse of mines during the mining process? B, what measures is the ministry putting in place to ensure that miners are sensitized on the safety procedures during mining processes? And then C, could the ministry consider compensating families of persons who lost their lives as a result of collapsed mine? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Referring to the Departmental Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. Next, member for Kapenguria, Honorable Moroto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to ask question 281 of 2018 to ask the Cabinet Secretary for Petroleum and Mining. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the criteria used to identify barrow pits at Narisros to exhibit ballot by Chinese firm, and whether as an environmental impact assessment was conducted before commencement of the activity? B, is the Cabinet Secretary aware that land parcel reference number 4140/9 where the excavation is taking place is not available for allocation, and that excavation ballot on it contravenes the provision of the National Land Commission Act. C, what measures has the ministry put in place to mitigate against environmental degradation occasioned by the excavation? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Occasioned by the excavation. Well, referring to the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. The next one by the nominated member, Professor Oduor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question 282 of 2018, addressed to the Cabinet Secretary for Wildlife and Tourism. A, could the Cabinet Secretary provide status of the implementation of the Ushanga Kenya initiative for empowering pastoralist women and youth to be implemented in the 7 targeted counties? B, could the Cabinet Secretary provide a breakdown of the activities implemented so far and the amount disbursed for each activity to date? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Referred to the Committee on Environment and Natural Resources. Next, by the member for KU North, Honorable Dr. James Murgo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to ask question number 286 of 2018 to the Cabinet Secretary for Transport, Infrastructure and Housing. A, is the Cabinet Secretary aware that the expansion and rehabilitation of a 12-kilometer E10 Buga Road to bitumen standards was completed in December 2016, and that persons affected by the expansion of the road have not been compensated to date? B, what measures the ministry is putting in place to ensure that those affected by the project are compensated, and when will the compensation be effected? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Referred to the Committee on Transport, Public Works and Housing. Finally, question by the member for Funyula, the Honorable Dr. Wilberforce Ojiambo Oundo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to ask question number 287 of 2018, directed to the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government. A, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the disciplinary action taken by the Inspector General of Police against police officers at Seaport Police Station who used live bullets and low-bid tear gas canisters at innocent women on 22nd, 23rd, and 24th December 2018? B,
no, are you saying December or November?
November, sorry. Let me retake it, Speaker. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the disciplinary action taken by the Inspector General of Police against police officers at Seaport Police Station who used live bullets and low-bid tear gas canisters at innocent women on 22nd, 23rd, and 24th November 2018? B, is the Secretary further aware that the police officers in Samia Sub-County have been soliciting bribes from motorists? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Very well. Referring to the Departmental Committee on Administration and National Security. Honourable members, that is the end of questions. But as you notice, order number 7 is questions and statements. So we are not yet through. We are not yet out of that. But just to inform the House that today being the last sitting day of this second session, all those questions, including the ones you've just asked, and the petitions which have not been dealt with, have to lapse by operation of law. And therefore, the members who have asked questions or have questions that are pending are advised to visit the table office as soon as the House resumes to get their questions prioritized and given new numbers, because they cannot go bearing the number of 2018. They will now, the new ones will have to bear the number of the year 2019. So it is just advice. Member for Suba North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, I rise under Standing Order number 84 to read a personal statement. Mr. Speaker, I wish to go on record in relation to issues that were raised about me by the Majority Leader, Honorable Adan Duale, on the 15th of November 2018, during the morning and afternoon sessions, while discussing the Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill, and specifically in relation to the Children Act number 8 of 2001, and which comments now form part of the parliamentary record. Even though I have clarified the same to Honorable Duale, I wish that my position too forms the record for avoidance of doubt. Mr. Speaker, the Leader of Majority, Honorable Duale, made the following remarks, and I quote, "On a point of order, Honorable Temporary Deputy Speaker, I ask Honorable Kaluma to stop what he is doing. I want to go on record and be on the Hansard. I want anybody to challenge me here that we cannot legislate for our own individual gain. Let me finish. Honorable Millie Odhiambo, the purported owner of the amendments, runs an institution called the Credo. I want anybody to oppose me. On that basis, Honorable Millie Odhiambo, whether she is here or not, is making laws for our own business, and this house can't be used. So, Honorable Temporary Deputy Chairman, I want you to put the question and we will oppose all amendments." He further stated as follows in response to Honorable Dr. Nyikal's attempts to move amendments on my behalf, given that I was away on parliamentary duties out of the country. Mr. Speaker, it is your amendment. We look at the order paper or it is not. There is nowhere in the procedure where you and Millie can be shareholders in an amendment. You can only be shareholders in children's homes. Mr. Speaker, it is my understanding that these utterances were meant to portray me and did in fact portray me based on the calls I have received in relation to the same as a dishonest person, lacking in integrity.
And will be heard in silence.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Number 2, Political Parties Fund. Number 3, Judiciary Fund. Number 4, the National Government Constituency Development Fund. And number 5, such other fund established by law as the Speaker may direct. Examination of audited accounts of Kenya Road Board Fund is amongst the mandate of the committee as provided under the National Assembly Standing Order number 205A. This is in line with Article 95(4)(c) of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, which stipulates oversight over national revenue and its expenditure as amongst the roles of the National Assembly. Further, Article 229, Sub-Article 8 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 provides that within 3 months after receiving an audit report, Parliament should debate and consider the report and take appropriate action. Madam Speaker, the report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of Kenya Roads Board Fund for the year ended June 2017 was tabled in the House on 20th April 2018 and was referred to the Special Fund Accounts Committee for examination to ascertain whether public funds were utilized in a lawful, authorized, efficient, and effective manner for the benefit of Kenyans. Madam Speaker, the Kenya Roads Board Fund is established under Section 31 of the Kenya Roads Board Act 1999 to receive all proceeds from the Road Maintenance Levy Fund and other sources and allocates the monies to various road agencies and the county governments based on the criteria set by the Kenya Roads Board. The fund is administered by Kenya Roads Board which is a statutory body established by the Kenya Roads Board Act number 7 of 1999 in accordance with Chapter 446 of the State Corporations Act. The board manages the Road Maintenance Levy Fund, which has grown from Kenya shillings 7 billion in financial year 2002/2003 to Kenya shillings 63 billion in 2017/18, and is projected to grow to Kenya shillings 68 billion in the financial year 2018-2019. Madam Speaker, the current levy to the fund is Kenya shillings 18 per litre of diesel or petrol, with an annual yield of Kenya shillings 63 billion, which includes a sum of Kenya shillings 10 billion from the Road Annuity Fund. The Road Annuity Fund was created under the Public Finance Management Regulations 2015 and is administered by the Principal Secretary, State Department of Infrastructure. It is funded at Kenya shillings 3 from the fuel levy. The general development and tarmacking of roads is funded by the Exchequer through Kenya National Highways Authority, KENA, Kenya Rural Roads Authority, KERA, and the Kenya Urban Roads Authority, KURA. Madam Speaker, pursuant to the Section 6 of the Kenya Roads Board Act, the allocation of funds under the Act is as follows. Kenya National Highways Authority, 40%, Kenya Rural Roads Authority, 21.8%, Kenya Urban Roads Authority, 10.2%, Kenya Wildlife Service, 1%, county governments, 15%, Kenya Roads Board Operations, 2%, Kenya Roads Board Cabinet Secretary Priority Projects, 10%. The Special Funds Accounts Committee invited the Executive Director, Kenya Roads Board, being the administrator of the fund, who appeared before it on 21st June 2018 during examination of the report of the Auditor General on financial statements of Kenya Roads Board Fund for the financial year ended June 2017. Madam Speaker, the committee observed that the audited financial statements of the fund were unqualified as per the opinion of the Auditor General, which indicated that the financial statements presented fairly in all material aspects of the financial position of the fund as at 30th June 2017, and that the Kenya Roads Board had complied with the International Public Sector Accounting Standards and Kenya Roads Board Act 1999. The committee further observed that Kenya Roads Board Fund had grown to Kenya shillings 63 billion in 2017-2018 financial year and was projected to reach Kenya shillings 68 billion in the financial year 2018-2019. The committee noted that the Kenya Roads Board had made proposals for the review of the allocation criteria as contained in the amendments to Kenya Roads Bill 2017 as follows. Kenya National Highway Authority, currently standing at 40%, proposed allocation is 35%. Kenya Rural Roads Authority, current percentage is 21.8, proposed allocation 28%. Kenya Urban Roads Authority, currently 10.2, proposed allocation is 10%. Kenya Wildlife Service stands at 1%. County governments standing at 15%, is proposed allocation is 16%. Kenya Roads Board Operations stands at 2%, the proposed allocation. And the Kenya Roads Board Cabinet Secretary Priority Projects, which has been 10%, proposed allocation is 7%, out of which 1% shall be for materials development and 1% for research and training. Madam Speaker, the committee made the following recommendations arising from the observations and findings during examination of the audited financial statements of the fund. The committee observed that the Kenya Road Board Fund disburses monies received in the fund as per the set criteria, and that the financial statements for institutions that receive the monies are audited and reported separately from those of the fund. The committee further observed that reports of the Auditor General for the following state agencies that receive funding from Kenya Roads Board Fund, Kenya National Highways Authority, which is 40%, Kenya Rural Roads Authority, which is 21.8%, Kenya Urban Roads Authority, which is 10.2%, and the Kenya Wildlife Service, 1%, are examined by the Public Investments Committee of the National Assembly, while those allocated to county governments, 15%, are examined by the respective committee of the Senate. The committee recommends that the respective committees of the Parliament mandated to examine audited financial statements for institutions that receive monies from the Kenya Roads Board Fund ensures timely examination of the reports of the Auditor General to ensure accountability of the funds. The committee observed that there was lack of adequate information on category of roads under each government agency, given the fact that the various agencies, including county governments, are involved in the implementation of road projects. This posed a challenge of overlap of functions with regard to identification of implementing agency of roads project, especially in constituencies. The committee recommends that the board provides a status report of the current roads classification in the country, the agency involved in the maintenance of these roads, and the allocations of funds made to these agencies in the financial year 2018-2019 towards implementation of the roads projects. This report should be submitted to the National Assembly within 3 months of adoption of this report. The committee observed that Kenya Roads Board did not have adequate information on utilization of the 10% allocation to priority projects by the Cabinet Secretary. The committee recommends that proposals made to the Cabinet Secretary on priority projects be availed to the Kenya Roads Board to enhance transparency and accountability. Madam Speaker, as I conclude, allow me to thank your office and that of the Clerk of the National Assembly for the support accorded during consideration of the reports. May I also extend committee appreciations to the Office of the Auditor General and the National Treasury for the complementary role that they continue to play in oversight over public funds. Finally, Madam Speaker, I acknowledge with gratitude the Office of the Executive Director, Kenya Roads Board, for availing the required information which enabled the committee to finalize this report on time. Madam Speaker, I beg to move and request Honorable Marwa Maisori to second the report. I thank you.
Thank you, the member from Boni, for moving. We call upon the Honorable Marwa for seconding.
Give me a mic. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I rise to second this report. And I just want to say that it will be important that at the earliest possible opportunity that the country gets to know how these percentages that have been quite ably and prudently forwarded by the Kenya Roads Board to the relevant departments, that is Kera, Kura, and Kenha, and the county governments, how actually they've been used, because that is the elephant in the room, how the last mile of these funds actually gets utilized. I want to acknowledge that indeed this Kenya Roads Board have done their work well. We were able to go through. We did not find a lot of things that were amiss. We just want to appreciate that continuously there has been improvement in the allocation of funds, a raise especially in the amounts of money that are allocated for our roads. And indeed, it is evident that our roads, almost in every part of this country, we are able to see improvement in our roads, the way they are maintained, and new roads that are being constructed. So, Madam Speaker, I second, and I thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
Very well. Very well. Members, I propose a question, which is that this House adopts the fourth report of the Special Funds Accounts Committee on audited financial statements for the Kenya Roads Board Fund for the year ended June 2017, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, December 4th, 2018. I see no interest to speak to this, and this are our standing orders, and so I do order the quorum bell to be rung. These two members, the honorable members, when the quorum bell is ringing, you cannot walk out of the chamber unless you are the whip. Otherwise, I will declare you out of order. And you know the day today? Sergeant, at times, you should always ensure that the members follow the procedures. Close the door. Order. Order, honorable members, pursuant to standing order number 35-2A, the House is not properly constituted for purposes of transacting business, and I therefore do order that we do adjourn the House. And before adjournment, honorable members, as a reminder, pursuant to the provisions of standing order number 28-3, which relates to the calendar of the assembly, the speaker notifies that upon rise of the House today, at the appointed time, and the time has been dictated by the circumstances, we will resume this House on the Tuesday, February 12, 2019 at 2:30 p.m. Members, the House stands adjourned, and I thank you all. For purposes of confirmation, Honorable Kilonzo, I don't know where you listen, we will resume the House on the Tuesday, February 12th, 2019 at 2:30 p.m. I thank you all. The House